story about drugs in Hawaii, radio in Hawaii, the music industry, and it has everything. Anything that you can imagine in the late 90s, early 2000s. This is going to tell you about my journey through that. This is a story of Hawaii in the 90s, early 2000s. Check this out. So, some of you may recognize me, and if you do, I apologize. And I don't know, not everybody's going to be happy that I'm telling this story. But I feel like it's something that I have enough people ask me about. Maybe it should be told. I don't live life with a lot of regrets, and there are several things in my life that I wished that I hadn't did. But I also know that, this journey has created who I am today. Let's tell you a little bit about myself.
Be blasé about some things, Rose, but not about Titanic.
This is the ship they say is unsinkable.
It is unsinkable. God himself could not sink this ship.
Part 1. How do we want to start this? Can I tell you about when I was younger? What led to this? In 1999, I was a manager at a pizza place, and it was there in Waikiki, and I was young. So at one point, I started going to this pretty well-known nightclub there in Waikiki. Some of you guys will probably remember it. It's called Eurasia, and each night I would send pizzas from the pizza place, and I would send these pizzas out and basically just network myself into the nightclub scene. Friday nights at Eurasia was a night where one of the local radio stations would bring their top DJs, and they would, it was just a really, really happening scene. Everybody wanted to be in that door and hang out, and it was just an impressive sight. Like if you're from a small town like where I'm from, or you're just fresh into the nightclub scene, this was like the place that you wanted to be. And in fact, this is where all the movie stars would hang out whenever they would come into town. I'd seen Shaquille O'Neal there. I'd seen musical acts would be there all the time. And you would find out really quickly that this was the place you wanted to be. So here I was this 22-year-old kid, a little bit, fresh into this kind of a scene. And I was getting treated as VIP. Like, I never paid to get in because I was the guy that gave away the pizzas. And I never stood in any lines. And then a lot of times after the place would close down, I would still be there hanging out with, the DJs that had, spun the records that night, or with the bouncers or the waitresses or the bartenders. And we would all hang out, and, we had this pretty cool friendship. It was kind of, I felt like I was part of this in crowd, but by far the most important reason why this place impacted me was because of one of the local radio stations was starting this group. It was called the Bomb Squad, and the Bomb Squad was a group of interns that all volunteered for this radio station, and it was kind of like a street team, and people would get together and just we'd pass out flyers, we'd go to grand openings, and we would help promote that, or we would go to the university and pass out flyers and talk about our upcoming events or concerts that might be happening. And it was just, man, there was so much, it was all about being amped up and being this huge crowd of young adults, men and women, that kind of had this popularity thing going for them, and it was so cool. It was a lot of fun, and we had all these people just flocking to us and help building us up as these cool young adults. One of the interns at the radio station asked me, and they said, hey, would you be interested in a job? It doesn't pay anything. It's an internship, and you get to learn the music industry and the radio station and promoting nightclubs, and it just sounded like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And he says, well, how about tomorrow I pick you up, and then we will go and we got an event to go to, and you can help me out there. We'll see what you think. So one thing led to another, and here I am. I'm part of this bomb squad. I'm part of this team now. I'm part of this group of young adults that we go to these nightclubs and kind of hype the nightclub up. And we all wore our VIP badges, and everybody knew who we were. We were part of this team, and who kind of like I said, hyped things up and made the nightclubs fun. And that was a part of what I had joined through this, and it was really, really fun. It was probably one of those experiences that doesn't come along, but when it did, it was something I jumped on, and I was super excited about it. And the next thing you know, I'm part of a radio station, the most successful radio station, and at the time, maybe ever in Hawaii. And it was so cool. The personalities that we had on the radio back then, those guys were amazing. And in the nightclub scene, we were just that hype group that just pushed this image of a radio station over the edge. And people just really, really enjoyed being around this, and it was a lot of fun. So how do you get from radio station to drug dealer? How does that happen? It wasn't overnight, but it didn't take very long either. So I tell people all the time that if you're in these 5 industries, basically, so you've got music, you've got sex, drugs, food, and alcohol. If you're on top of any of those, you're going to know the people on top of all these others. So if you're in the music industry, you're going to know drug dealers. You're going to know bar tenders, waiters and waitresses. It's these 5 industries that you will know those people, because it's just the way it works. Nightclub scene, the girls, a lot of alcohol, radio. It's just, everything was happening real quick, real fast. And the entire time I'm getting to know all these people, and all these different aspects of these different 5 industries, right? One day after work, what we called work, one of the other interns with me, one of the other guys on the bomb squad, and one of the girls on the bomb squad, asked me, Andy, do you happen to know anyone that might have ecstasy? At the time, I didn't really know a lot about ecstasy. I didn't really know a lot about drugs in general. I hadn't even done drugs at that point. So, but I did figure, yeah, I probably do know somebody that has ecstasy. So, yeah. So one of my drivers that worked for me at the pizza place there in Waikiki, I knew he did drugs. You know, I assumed at the time it was probably marijuana, and that was probably it. Weed, which was, you know, everywhere in Hawaii, and still is. But I didn't know for sure if there was any other involvement in drugs with this guy. So I was willing to check it out though. So I called my friend up and I said, hey, you know, we're looking for this. He said, come on over. I went to his house and he says, come with me. I go back to his room and he hands me a baggie. You know, just a little square baggie like that. And it had about 20 pills in it. And it's the first time I'd ever even seen ecstasy. And he said, here you go. Do I need this many? And he said, yeah, you'll get me. Like, okay, so how much do you need? And he goes, well, just give me $15 a pill. And how much do they go for? Well, right now they're about $30 each. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's see what I can do. They were gone in 1 hour. In 1 hour, I made $300 profit. And I went from having those 20 to 1 hour later, $300 in my pocket, and going back over to his house and then him giving me 50 more. And throughout that first night, those were gone within a couple hours. You know, it just happened. Hey, you guys want any ecstasy? Or the two people that came with me were like, my friend's got some. Do you want some? And it was just word of mouth, and just like that, you know. And I believe that first night I made somewhere around, I don't know, $1,200 from going back to my friend's house and back to the nightclubs. So $1,200. I can honestly say that I did not see anything wrong with what I did that night back then. I had no concern about whether it was wrong or right. I wasn't even considering whether it was wrong or right, because, I mean, to me it was a bunch of young guys and girls that wanted ecstasy, bought ecstasy, did ecstasy, and there wasn't a whole lot known about it at that point, besides the fact that it made you love everything and everyone around you. I didn't see anything wrong with that. Looking back on it, yeah, I do. I see something wrong with it. What I didn't know at the time was that this was going to escalate very, very quickly. And I was going to go from, you know, just a guy hanging out with his friends, making pretty good money, to that consuming me. And that money and influence completely taking over my life. That's what was going to happen, and at the time I didn't know it. I went from a young man who made, you know, just over $1,000 one night to a young man with $80,000 on a quick trip to Los Angeles one day. And it completely blew up from there. please understand that this is not by any means bragging or romanticizing the life that I had. But this is just the story and what really happened. This was part 1. And part 2, I'll tell you how it went from there.